Hi, it's Jo here. We all want to create a horse who's just absolutely marvellous at mounting, don't we? Well, this video is all about the steps that we need to take to produce a horse who enthusiastically wants you to climb aboard them and then will very much willingly accept you when you do. There are lots of videos out there on the internet showing the end result of mounting trained with reward-based training, where the horse comes over and lines up at the mounting block and the rider hops on before clicking and then giving their horse a treat. But most often, when working with an object or situation which actually produces anxiety in our horses, simply teaching them a different behaviour, such as come over to the mounting block, line yourself up and then stand still while I get on you, just isn't enough to truly change their feelings about the actual process of being mounted, even if it's done with clicker training. Instead, what is much more effective, and is also what we focus on teaching you here at the Academy of Positive Horsemanship, is training that actually deeply changes the way your horse feels about that particular object or situation. Training this way actually eliminates the underlying reason for any unwanted behaviour in the first place, and so it disappears for good. These training techniques can be used for all fears, anxieties, phobias, and even aggression, or actually any other behaviour that involves arousal or emotional reaction. So this is me with my young mare Ellie, the very first time that I ever actually mounted her in full tack. You're also about to see a few of our students and their horses all working on these very same training techniques, working to carefully stretch their unique horses' emotional thresholds and gradually change their perceptions, their opinions, and ultimately their feelings about the whole mounting process. There's nothing quite like seeing the wonderful changes in a horse who was once worried or even downright terrified of being mounted and ridden to become one instead of relaxed and happy enjoyment. To see them start to realise that there's no longer any need to feel anxious about what's going to happen next, because we're going to take however long they need us to take. We're going to listen to every tiny change in their body language to establish their emotional threshold point, where their anxiety is low enough that the appetitive feel-good treats or scratches that we are adding in far outweigh any aversive feelings that they're experiencing. By providing horses with real choices, which is essential for their good psychological health, we enable a deep change in their emotional feelings and perceptions about the entire situation, and ultimately we end up with a horse who genuinely wants us to get on and go for a ride. What a wonderful feeling! Here at the Academy, we're always looking at how the horse really feels about what we're asking of them, their emotional responses. We always aim for deeply positive emotions surrounding everything that we do. So instead of painting over any emotional cracks by simply teaching them a different operant end behaviour, we actually teach you how to fill in those emotional cracks by working directly with them at their source. After all, the whole process of mounting is simply an extension of our training on the ground, taking that trust through into ridden work. By nurturing and developing that bond of trust really strongly on the ground, and then onwards through into the mounting process, we can keep it fully intact when we reach the saddle. It's only through developing that trust, through that transition from the ground to the saddle, that we can be sure that it will be there when we are on their backs. So what you see here is a range of different Academy members and their horses who are using these same training protocols to do exactly that and extend that bond of trust that they have on the ground towards the saddle, providing their horses with real choices, listening and responding to very subtle body language signals and changes in their horse's emotional thresholds, and ultimately developing their horse's psychological well-being, as well as creating a horse who at the end of this process will be absolutely marvellous to mount and ride. So there's young horses starting out on their riding journey in here, trusting that their people are listening to them, they're responding and altering the training upon the tiniest signals of any anxious body language communication from their horse in a really lovely two-way participative conversation. Some of these horses are older horses who have developed deeper fears and phobias even from previous aversive-based ridden training that they've had. And others are horses whose owners have actually gone back to train this process again after realizing that their initial teaching of mounting using positive reinforcement hadn't actually fully changed the emotional aspects for the horse, but instead had produced conflict arousal. I think that you'll agree that these videos are just inspirational. There are so many wonderful reasons to take our time over this training, no matter whether we've got a young horse being introduced to being ridden or an older horse who is demonstrating some unwanted behaviours surrounding the mounting process. By focusing on deeply changing the way that our horse feels about every step of this mounting process, their comfort zones gradually stretch because their humans are now able to be trusted to listen and respond positively to every minute change in the horse's behaviour. The end result? A marvellous mount.